hay mucha migra y todos están cayendo. No les recomiendo cruzar porque hay un chingo de migra.
The administration's effort to permanently scale back the size and scope of the federal workforce continues in full force. As Laura Barón-Lopez reports, President Trump's actions in his first few weeks also fueled demonstrations on this holiday weekend.
Where is Congress?
This President's Day,
This is what democracy looks like.
protests across the country pushing back against President Trump's first month in office and what organizers say are his anti-democratic and illegal actions. They call it the No King's Day protest, even as the president suggested in social media posts this weekend that he is above the law, stating he who saves his country does not violate any law. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin responded on CBS.
The dominant objective of this administration is corruption and lawlessness.
Trump's declaration comes as his administration faces multiple restraining orders from judges, who've in some cases said his actions are likely unconstitutional. One of those cases could be the first test for the U.S. Supreme Court, after the president fired the head of a federal agency that protects whistleblowers. A lower court blocked him. But the Trump administration has asked the High Court to uphold the removal of Hampton Dellinger as head of the Office of Special Counsel. As the White House battles in the courts, billionaire Elon Musk's government takeover grows. Musk's team, the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, is seeking unlimited access to highly sensitive Internal Revenue Service systems that hold taxpayer data for millions of Americans. And over the holiday weekend, Musk's team fired tens of thousands of federal workers across the government.
President Trump has said that he believes he has the power to end the war in Ukraine. He was speaking after talks were held today in Saudi Arabia, where Russian and American diplomats discussed ending Russia's 3-year campaign. More on those talks in a moment. But first, let's go straight to Washington and to our North America editor, Sarah Smith. Sarah, what more did the president say?
Well, he said he thinks he's the only person in the world who can end this war, as well as saying that he has the power to end it, and also repeating that if he had been in the White House 3 years ago, this war would never have begun. Now, he's said that before, but he's always implied that that was because Vladimir Putin would not have dared to invade Ukraine if Donald Trump had been the president of the United States. But speaking a few minutes ago from his Florida residence in Mar-a-Lago, he seemed to be blaming Ukraine for not having made a deal with Russia prior to the invasion. He seemed to be saying that if he had been in office, then he would have forced a deal that anybody, he said, could have negotiated a better deal where they would have given up a little bit of land, not too much, and been able to avoid this war. Have a listen to what he had to say.
I think I have the power to end this war, and I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way.
Now, of course, when he was saying that Ukraine was complaining about not being invited, that was because they were not part of those talks that took place between America and Russia in Saudi Arabia today. Now, from the State Department, from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, we heard that those were not negotiations about how to end the war. They were simply initial talks between America and Russia, who will now put together top teams who will speak to each other about the parameters of how the war might end. And the Secretary of State was very clear. He said if they do get to the point of actually negotiating what a peace deal or a ceasefire might look like, at that point Ukraine will be brought into the talks and some European nations will be consulted. But for now, those talks are very much between only the United States and Russia.